Meta announces its Quest 3 VR headset. I'm surprised that more isn't done to sell these. I'm a tech enthusiast with disposable income, but the last headset I tried was an old Oculus one about a decade ago. I could see the promise of the tech but need convincing that it's come far enough for me to buy one. And yet, trying these out just doesn't seem to be a thing anywhere. I can walk into any tech store and see a non-working unit in a glass case, or if I'm lucky pick up a slightly sticky broken controller, but I can't try one out for 5 minutes to see if I like it. I'd bet that Apple's headset will be announced with a store experience to go along with it. I'm sure it'll be by appointment only to begin with, as they'll have many more people wanting to try it than who will want to buy, but I'm sure there will be a way to experience them before buying. The Apple Watch was effectively a new product category where people needed a new level of persuasion, and Apple had fitting appointments that were very well done, and Apple stores have always been known for being primarily focused on using the products, even letting you try AirPods, so I can't imagine these will be stuck in a glass case. Games sell game controllers, not the other way around. When a sufficiently good experience is available for VR, which isn't usable without VR, then VR headsets will sell. I've tried all the VR apps and games, and they all underwhelm. For me, Beat Saber is that game. With mods and community-made songs, beat maps which can be quite intense, and it's how I get in some cardio on a regular schedule. Approximately 1 hour 30 minutes on a 2 days on 1 day off cycle. Currently I do this with a Quest 2 attached to a Vive Deluxe audio headstrap with 3D printed adapters and a counterweight on the back to take pressure off my face. A setup dubbed Frankenquest. It works well enough, but there's a lot of room for improvement. I think the experience just isn't mainstream enough. I think there are a lot of people that would drop $200 to $300 to get a Beat Saber experience if they were aware of the option. Is there any reason it should be less compelling than the Wii as exercise craze, for example? I largely agree with you. However, Superhot is the closest thing I've experienced to the can't do it outside VR games. I did previously play the browser version of the same game, and it was fantastic still, but there's something different about moving around in space like that. Alex got close to the only in VR sort of mechanics, but changed 2 to 3 big set pieces, and it could very much be done on a 2D screen. It basically doesn't say anything about what's new, besides color pass-through. That's rather annoying. I love my Meta Quest 2, and I'll blindly buy Quest 3 as soon as available. It's an awesome game console, and the game's quality is very consistent. I also do PC VR, and even though PC VR has some neat stuff, it's much more effort. I usually can do PC VR only 1 hour in a row because any frame jitter gives nausea, while Quest manages 1 frame drops per hour. That being said, I'm expecting to be let down. No more Carmack. I'm pretty confident he helped push quality forward, and quality is really what puts Quest 2 ahead of its league. You must really have 0 head tracking issue and 0 frame drop. The design with camera island screams at designers wanted to say, but they forgot practical use. Quest 2 was smooth, which makes it easy to put into a bag and out, and camera lenses were kinda protected. Here you've got the worst part of all. If my smartphones are any reference, the ones with islands are scratched within 6 months. My Quest 2 is 2 years old and looks to be able to sustain 5 years without a hitch. I'm not optimistic about Quest 3. I think they missed the mark with that trailer. They promote it like it's a skateboard. Cool tricks, fast-paced, hip and happy. I don't think that's why you want a VR headset at all. It's actually the opposite. Immersion, sinking into another world. It's conscious dreaming. The D&D pitch could be perfect. I'd love to play a VR, AR D&D game. But in the video, the first thing he does is take off the headset and smile. It makes no sense. He should be totally enraptured, not happy to take it off. It's like they don't get their own product. I disagree with you. That trailer makes it a lot more appealing to a broader audience. It gave me strong vibes of Nintendo's ads for the Switch and Wii. Even if they can sell VR as a fully immersive experience, I doubt that would be something that drives more sales than a bunch of people smiling after they've experienced what the headset offers. If Meta wants this thing to be big, they can't just capture people that want fully immersive experiences. Meta said that starting June 4th, the Quest 2 will drop its price by $100 to $299.99 for the 128GB version. Ah, what a deal. The same price it was 1 year ago. Twitter.com/MetaQuestVR/status/1551975828442910720. All use cases in the video are games. I think that is the reason why I don't feel anything towards VR headsets. While I am totally into technology, I'm just not interested in games. Actually, I am not interested in entertainment at all. I wonder what makes people different, so that some are very much into entertainment and some are not. I am not interested in entertainment at all. This makes no sense to me. You don't enjoy music, movies, books, dance, sports, plays, museums of any kind? Have you always been that way? When I was very young, I could entertain myself for hours in my backyard looking at shadows and insects. When I watch a movie, I do enjoy it. But there are so much way more interesting and exciting things to do than to watch a movie. So I rarely watch one. Books, love books. But they are usually about the real world. Science, biographies, theories. I wouldn't call them entertainment. Never been much into dancing. Doing sport is super awesome. But is that really counted as entertainment? Or do you mean watching sports? I find watching sports pretty boring. Plays, what's that? Museums? Hell yeah. But I never heard someone call museums part of the entertainment industry. It's hard to make other use cases work when text is barely readable. The resolution just isn't there for productivity apps. I'd be surprised if Apple doesn't lean into that angle with their new headset. Pixel density on phones was a problem before the iPhone 4, and they sold the heck out of the Retina display. If Apple can make small text readable in VR, they'll enable a whole world of new VR applications. Text is barely readable. I understand what you're saying, and I agree, but it's like saying a party is boring because there are no books. The whole meta concept is that you're socializing in VR and it feels as if you're talking to your friend directly. I'm sure the resolution has improved in the new model, but even still, super sharp text isn't as important as you'd think to make the fundamental social use cases work. Socializing is one thing you do in the metaverse. Working is probably the bigger one though. Lots of people don't grok this, but the endgame for VR, AR is replacing every monitor in every office and home. Probably ditto TVs when every person owns a headset. It's going to be a massive game changer, and a rapid transition, when VR gets good enough to work in. The question is just whether this is a 5-year timeline or 50. Mark is obviously betting he can get traction in the 5 to 10 year timeframe. Apple's strategy suddenly became clear to me while watching the Quest 3 promo video. They are delivering a platform, XROS, an operating system, and not simply a high-spec VR headset. The strength of the ecosystem will encourage it to be smoothly integrated into daily use, as opposed to being an awkward gaming device you pick up when you want to mess around in VR. We'll see. Exciting times. The surprise announcement makes me optimistic for the quality of Apple's offering. Zuckerberg is worried. After we got used to multitask screen input in our lives for years, VR is a huge bet that we somehow prefer single focus session in an environment controlled by someone else. No more checking messages in between. No more friendly distractions, and the VR companies have full control what we see during a session, including ads. This kind of hyperfocus is rare in most use cases, especially at work. I wonder how their UX research justified the effort. I'm sure I sound like an old man yelling at clouds, but I don't get why there's such a push for these platforms. I got an email from Apple about their event this month, and it said, Code New Worlds, which in my mind seems to confirm they're actually going ahead with an AR, VR device. Why? Where is the market? How many of these things sell? What do people actually do with them? I like the idea of an AR experience for enabling better work environments, even as a programmer, but my sense is that these technologies are very far in the future still. These will be toys for a while yet. So what's the motivation to get into this space? What is the opportunity that Apple sees, for example? Part of me is optimistic that there's some incredible application around the corner and it'll be an exciting moment in the digital space. The other part of me feels like we're really grasping here, and it's just a toy, albeit a pretty cool one. The primary advantage of the Quest 2 was the price, so I hope they don't discontinue it given that the Quest 3 is apparently $200 more expensive. It is still likely to have the biggest disadvantage of the Quest 2, which was the mandatory Facebook, Meta, Horizon World stuff and the absolute headache that came from their account migration, connection shenanigans. Does that thing still requires a Facebook account to be used? IIRC, there was a famous article here some time ago. How some folk got banned on Facebook and got locked out of his Oculus. Last I heard it requires a Meta account now. Which is a totally different thing because it has a different name. How do they expect VR, metaverse to ever take off with such expensive hardware? It is understandable that laptops, desktops, phones cost a lot since the demand is high and people will pay a premium. But, there is little to no demand for VR headsets. Maybe if somehow they ever made the metaverse a must-have thing, they could charge $500 for a headset, but right now? They should be digging into their deep coffers and giving the things away.